Going back to Cuba momentarily, David, what should Joe Biden do about Cuba? That's a very American-centric way to ask the question. And I think it's important to start with first, Joe Biden doesn't necessarily have to do anything about Cuba in the sense that the United States doesn't have to be involved in every issue in every country. That's a starting point. That's not isolationist. That's we don't have to be involved everywhere all the time. Now, you might say, hold on a second, David. The U.S. is already involved in Cuba because of the embargo and for other reasons. It's already entangled. And I would agree with you 100%. And we'll get into that in a second. But the first point is reframing. Joe Biden doesn't have to do anything about what's going on in any particular country by definition. Now, because part of why Cuba is the way it is today, is related to the American embargo of Cuba. At absolute minimum, Joe Biden should be getting rid of the amped up sanctions that Donald Trump put in. Barack Obama had eased those sanctions. Donald Trump had reinstated some of those. Joe Biden should immediately step back from those. At the same time, the U.S. simply cannot, and by cannot, I mean should not, it's a moral question, should not be involved in any kind of influence campaign for regime change in Cuba. American involvement in regime change in Central, Latin, South America, however you want to slice and dice that region of the world, has been almost exclusively a disaster. And there are so many stories of that. You can look at Colombia. You can look to a lesser degree in Argentina, Nicaragua, Honduras. I mean, there's just so many questions. So my preference would be, because remember, I'm a progressive anti-authoritarian. My tendencies are not fascist. My tendencies are not authoritarian. They're not dictatorial. I'm a small L progressive libertarian. I can't support any regime that's been in power since 1959 and that was handed from one brother to another. Doesn't matter if what it was replacing was bad. It doesn't matter if it was replacing something that was supported by the U.S. in the 50s. I'm a progressive libertarian, so there are certain principles that are really important. And one is I don't support dictatorial regimes. Police states, etc. So the U.S. should not support the Castro regime, but should have zero involvement in regime change operations. But beyond that, I don't know that I'm hugely inclined to say the U.S. should have a bigger and bigger role. I would love to see U.S. aid leveraged and used. Other nonprofit groups are eager to help in Cuba, make it easier for them to do that. Send food aid, send medical aid. I know some people say Cuba doesn't need any medical aid. Okay, they do. But beyond that, I am very skeptical of American involvement in Cuba because it has been pretty disastrous for a long time. I know it bums me out, but there are some authoritarian leftists. Are they really leftists? I know that that's a question you will ask, but there are some self-described leftists who are authoritarian in my audience who have a different perspective on Cuba. They really like the Castro regime. It's tough for me to find common ground with that because I just can't support any kind of autocratic police state type regime that's lasted 60 years. I just can't do it. I don't support that in North Korea. I don't support it. It's shorter and different, but in Venezuela. And I don't support it in Cuba either. Send me your thoughts. What should or should not Joe Biden be doing in Cuba? We've got a great bonus show for you today. Get instant access. Really, come on in. We've got an extra show every day by signing up at joinpacman.com. Our sponsor, PureVPN, is having a huge 14th anniversary sale offering everybody in my audience a subscription for under $3 a month. PureVPN is a service I trust because it has more servers than any other VPN on the market. And it's the only VPN with an always-on third-party audit to verify that your internet activity is not being logged. PureVPN keeps me anonymous online, keeps me safe from hackers, government surveillance, any websites trying to track me, and it lets me also access awesome streaming content which wouldn't otherwise be available in my country on platforms like Netflix and a whole bunch of others. I can stay logged into PureVPN on up to 10 of my devices at the same time, and it's so easy to use. You click 2 buttons to set it up. You need no computer expertise at all. You can get PureVPN at a huge discount, just $288 a month, when you go to davidpacman.com/VPN. The link is right under this video. And you'll get an additional 14% off when you use the coupon code HBD14.